Welcome back to the Outpost. This is Forgiveness, Part 2. If you missed Part 1, check the link in the description below. We're here with Mark Goodman.
So I'm going to reiterate the three levels of forgiveness. There's the decision, there's the emotional, and there's the spiritual. And go to Part 1 if you want to hear a deeper description on this. But I have a comment that I want to make because this struck me when you went through spiritual. There are things that have happened in my past that are really hard that I literally forgot. When you talk about whitewashing, like somebody will have to, that happen and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'd completely forgot. Is that part of the process? Is that the desired outcome? Am I just lucky? Or is this just because I'm older and I'm forgetting stuff?
I think it's because you're older.
Wouldn't surprise me. But I mean, really traumatic things that somebody had to tell me that happened. I was like, oh my gosh, really? I'd forgotten that.
Listen, we have a rule in our household. I won't allow Prevagen in our household. What is the reason? Because I don't want my wife to remember all the different bad things that I've done to her over the years. Hey, look, it is an outcome, but it's not the desired outcome. You've ever heard that saying, forgive and forget, which is the biggest bunch of baloney, because next thing you know, you're walking around grumpy and you don't even know why you're mad.
You just like subverted it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Buried alive.
Pick one or the other. And mostly in some of these bigger hurts, it's not even realistic to truly forget it anyway.
I mean, I didn't intentionally try to forget it. It's like, wow, I totally
But I think you hit on a big one, that spiritual forgiveness where it's the remission. Remember now, the remission is a greater level than forgiveness. Forgive it exists, but I'd made a decision not to hold the resentment against it. Remission is literally takes it away. So yeah, maybe I can remember it, but I don't remember it that well, and it's just not a big deal.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. I love the three levels, and I think if the three levels were easy and self-evident, there'd be more peace. Mm-hmm. We'd see more freedom. Mm-hmm. So I kind of want to suss out a little bit. What happens to a man spiritually when he carries resentment towards someone, meaning that he gets to the decision, he can't quite cross over the emotional, or he gets to the emotional and he really just can't take it to the cross and surrender it. What happens?
I love it. So first of all, in taking it to the cross and surrender, we often hear that you must, you should, you need, you must, should, need. Do you feel that finger pointing at you? Right? Mm-hmm. In order to be forgiven, you need to be forgiving, finger pointing at it. And I love 1 Peter 3, 8 and 9, particularly 9, it starts off being kind and compassionate, great and everything else. But here it tells both the what and the why. Here it comes. Is do not repay evil with evil, but evil with blessing. Right? There's the do. Why? For this you were called, as a believer, you must, should, need, theologically correct. But here's the big kicker. In this you will receive a blessing. You will receive a blessing. Do you want a blessing? And so that not going through that and holding on to that causes that wound of unforgiveness. Guys, let me share this with you. Think about it this way. If a dog were to come up and take a big bite out of my arm, do you think I'm going to be mad, have anger, maybe some resentment against the dog? I'm a human being. You better bet you I am.
Bet.
Okay? But if I leave that wound open, what's going to happen? I don't do anything with it. I'm going to get an infection. And it's going to affect everything about it. I may start missing work. I'm going to be angry and resentful because I'm in pain against those that are around me. And so is it with the wound of unforgiveness. If you leave that wound open, it shows itself in resentment, shame, anger, sometimes substance abuse, and sometimes being hurt to being the hurter, to being abused to being the abuser. Here's the interesting thing, guys. I can blame the dog for the bite, but I can't blame the dog for the infection. That's on me.
Yeah.
And that can be tough to somebody who's been hurt so badly, and to clean up that infection, I've been spending so long blaming. As a victim, I am a victim. From this day forward, you have a choice, no matter what happened to you, on your spiritual, emotional, relational future. It's your choice to make. Here's the other interesting part. The dog bite may look differently, but the infection looks much the same. People say, well, my story is not as bad as yours.
Yeah, but infection is infection.
It looks exactly the same. The resentment, low self-worth, when I look in the mirror, I see a flawed individual. Can you guys relate to that, even though it's not your story? Your story is different. The infection looks the same.
So what? So then we're choosing to live, and we're choosing to allow infection. So what are the consequences of that? What are the consequences? I love the term you have when people carry around their backpack of pain and their backpack of unforgiveness. They would rather allow the infection to blossom. They would rather carry their backpack of pain and unforgiveness than to seek treatment, to seek help.
Sure.
Talk about that.
I meet people all the time. They would rather fight to stay in the pain than release it, let it go, let the Lord have it, and forgive it. And they see it almost as a weakness that I'm saying what they did is okay by forgiving them. It has nothing to do with that. Back again, it's a decision to release the resentment. To be free.
It literally becomes part of their identity.
It absolutely becomes their identity. And as a victim, you're powerless. You're in the passenger seat of life. You have an excuse for any kind of behavior.
Yeah.
I am angry. I drink. I can be tough on my wife sometimes because.
I think about the years where I was angry, and I think about what the anger was about, and it may have been. It clearly was a forgiveness issue. Clearly, there were unmet expectations, which just foster grievances and things that are unforgiven that just stay open. And I think about how that just, there's not a part of my being in my marriage, a father of young children, at work, desires at work, motivation at work. There's not a thing that wasn't infected by the infection.
And tell me I'm wrong here, guys.
Short temper,
Yeah, sure. Often we think, well, I'm only hurting myself.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right? Famous last word.
Go tell your wife that you're only hurting yourself. Figure that one out.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the number of years before my healing of just snapping at her over or talking down to her. You just don't get it.
Yeah.
Right? And talking down to her. Why? Because I had not forgiven my self-worth. Right? So that I'm going to talk down because I'm not worthy enough. It shows up in all our relationships and separation byproducts, not only here, but separation from God.
Yeah.
It shows up in abuse. I'll give you one. Have you ever noticed that there are a lot of, when it comes to successful people, CEOs, actors, comedians, come from bad or abusive childhoods? You know why? It's because my self-worth. Do you want to see my self-worth? Here's my self-worth. And so they overcompensate and often withdraw, overcompensate and withdraw, overcompensate, withdraw. If you find yourself, it's like, I have proven Dad wrong and I've proven that I am worthy because of this instead of this. Then maybe start thinking that there's a problem.
We talk all the time.
So good.
And I've learned this from you, Tim. We talk all the time about the difference for living from affirmation and security, our clear and true identity versus living for affirmation. And you think about how the living for affirmation, this is the ball field, bedroom, boardroom. This is living for affirmation, which really becomes a mask, a salve, if you will.
Yes.
To take care of those wounds that ache, to compensate for the anger literally undealt with, or the fear undealt with. So what's your reaction?
I remember us coming to that conversation, living from or for. and doing an honest assessment of my own psychology and going, it's clear I've lived for.
Yeah.
My whole life has been about living for affirmation because of what I didn't get as a kid. And just coming to that realization was a turning point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, that doesn't make that need go away completely, but I'm more aware of it.
Yeah.
And I stopped doing that, even though I need more.
And Mark, you were right on the cusp of saying something that we love. We talk about it all the time. Is that the value of who we are is who we are, not what we do. It's who we are intrinsically. That little piece of flesh, that little person that God knit with numbered hairs on our head. Who we are as opposed to what we do. What we do becomes
so true.
A cover.
So true. So we wear the mask, and I wore a mask most of my life. I get it.
Yeah.
But we've heard before, it said you can only love others to the degree that you love yourself. Or, right, the great commandments of love the Lord with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Well, I don't love myself, so therefore I don't have to love my neighbor, right? And so it affects everybody around you, like the secondhand smoke. And if you don't believe me, go check with your wife.
Oh, yeah.
Go check with your kids.
Right on.
Go check with your kids.
coworkers.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah. So I want to pull the thread. We've talked a lot about forgiveness, and forgiveness doesn't require the act of another.
Right.
But to take that red thread from forgiveness and to pull it out further and to get to where it impacts another person, we have to go to reconciliation. Can you talk to us the difference between reconciliation versus forgiveness?
Yeah, and another episode, I would love to get in reconciliation. I believe that we are going to get in great detail. So I'm just going to give you the quick difference in between. Forgiveness, it only takes one side of the transaction. Reconciliation takes both sides. Okay? So forgiveness, I can forgive subject, and you should, subject to what? Nothing. Nothing from the other side. With grace and mercy, even though they deserve it. And with that, I free them and I free me, right? And that's where the joy, one side. Reconciliation now is about relationship. And so often I'll take this from biblical terms, that we're reconciled with the Lord. People in the exchange, right? I give my life to the Lord, in exchange I get forgiveness, which is just a partial truth. It's really reconciliation. Dear Lord, I want to have a relationship. Well, Mark, I do too. Well, I've been a really bad guy. I know you have, and everything else. I want you to forgive me, but are you going to keep doing the same thing? Are you sorry? Are you going to repent? Yeah, I have completely changed, and I want to repent. I love you, and I want to have a relationship. Well, then I will forgive you. Bottom line, forgiveness is part of reconciliation. Forgiveness does not require reconciliation. Reconciliation requires forgiveness. Have you ever seen a couple that there's something bad happen and there was no forgiveness and they try and get back together again? Have you ever seen any one of those work before? I haven't. I haven't. So the reconciliation, even from a biblical point of view, the Greek word in the Bible is katalage, which roughly translated in English, reconciliation and exchange. The reconciliation requires an exchange. I'm bad. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Want to make amends. 12-step programs. 5 of those 12 steps are directly related to forgiveness and that reconciliation with yourself and with others. And there is an exchange. There's the biggest difference. Make sense?
Makes sense. I want to pivot a little bit when we think about forgiveness, and I want to think about, because we started with the idea that forgiveness was unlocked freedom. So talk about what that freedom actually looks like in the daily life of a man.
You remember our initial comment was, hey, men out there, this is maybe uncomfortable, but Scott and I spend a lot of our ministry time talking about what does spiritual leadership really look like. So for the man out there who's leading his family, what does this freedom look like that we're talking? How would it show up in his family?
Listen, I'm going to pat you guys in the back and just say how much I love being the times that I have, this understanding that you have, that what if there were a place that by telling all of my story, who I really am, that I'm loved more, not less because of it, right? Listen, guys that are listening, paying attention to this. We all have those friendships where, how are you doing? Good. How are you? How's the family? How's work? How are those Falcons doing? Good. Oh, we're tight. Interesting enough, as long as I wore a mask, I didn't have any deep male relationships, right? My wife was always bugging me about it. Yeah. You can't, who the real Mark is, because I'm hiding with a mask. And then some years ago, we went to a new small group, been involved in church, leader at production in North Point, went to started a new small group, and the first guy told everything, and I mean everything. And my turn was in 2 weeks. And do I give that same story of, I had a little bit of a bad childhood, and then I became CTO of a publicly traded telecom company. We've got 6 kids. There you go.
Great story.
Oh, I thought about it and I prayed about it. And I said, Lord, 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 it's time to take that mask off. But I did not want my wife to hear it for the first time in somebody else's living room. So I got a hold of her and said, honey, you better come in the kitchen and sit down. There's stuff
and she'd never heard a lot of it?
Whoa. There's stuff that has happened to me that I've done, the way I think, act, react, I've never shared with anybody, including you. And guys, it was awful. It was great. To take that load off for the first time. And it was my turn to tell my story in the living room. I told it all. And I've taken that mask off, and you're not going to get me to put that mask back on. Right? That I am loved more, not less, because of telling him. I'm forgiven by the Lord and by others. I am a flawed individual working hard at this. Yeah. Isn't that beautiful?
It's free.
It's free.
There's a True Face concept that builds on that. And it's like you can manufacture the most perfect facade, the most perfect mask. But down deep, people love that mask. That they don't, if they knew the real you, they wouldn't
like me.
So even though you may come off as everything you hope to be, but that's not you. And it's not you.
The irony in that, guys. And first of all, it's exhausting for anybody listening to this. You know how exhausting that is. Wake up in the morning. Right?
Put on
Get it all
smile,
together.
Right. Yeah.
But the irony of the fact is, my wife would tell me, Mark, you need some good, solid male Christian.
It sounds like Monica.
It does.
Yeah. My wife now, she says,
she was right.
Mark, enough is enough. You have too many.
Now you have too many?
Too many, right? All because of taking because didn't like me. Because if you knew the real me, you wouldn't like me.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that's not true. God, what a lie.
And what a lie we tell ourselves.
Well, I think about the freedom. I just think about what a gift it is to engage with your wife and with a wife, knowing that she knows everything about you and you know everything about her. And there's like nothing, it's one of these situations where nothing really can be used against you. There is mutual acceptance.
The truth is out. Yeah.
The truth is out.
Yeah.
And not only that, but if you take it one step further, she begins to cherish not only the pretty things, the publicly acceptable things in me, but she begins to cherish the ugly things. Yeah. Yeah. And I begin to cherish the pretty and socially and whatever acceptable things in her, but I really start to cherish the things about her that she wouldn't want shared, that people would want to hide. And in the South, they say, hide, you're crazy. That people would hide. And to me, that cherishing those things is even bigger because it's this huge blanket of acceptance. It's blanket acceptance, unconditional acceptance.
Yeah. Well, then I think also when you get to the hard stuff, she starts to understand you in your wounded places that she couldn't understand you if you didn't.
Oh, when we finally shared it with her, a lot of it made sense, right?
She was able to connect some dots, you mean?
Connect the dots,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I got this. You don't need help, right? Because if I'm going to get through what I got through, it was a lot of, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this. It's just snapping at her simple little things, hiding. But the biggest thing with Scott is Taryn is just that ability to come home and say, I had a bad day. Today sucked. It hurt. Well, Mark with the mask, Mark, never shared
Wouldn't
that.
say that.
No. How was your day? It's good.
I think about
Boy, that's so true.
think about all the ways in environments where you can't say what happened that day. Environments, even in your home, where you can't really have a bad day. I think about then, what do you do? Is it a 6-pack evening? Is it I watch the Braves all night on the television?
Yeah.
Is it I win the yard of the month every week? Is it I'm a scratch golfer? Is it I spend a lot of time in the basement and no one knows what I'm doing down there? Like, so there, you know, we talked about coping mechanisms earlier. So it's just that's one side of it. But then I think about what does it look like, or what change would we see in my home, in a guy's home, in a man's home, if they were completely released the debt?
Oh, I love that. In more times than not, this is what that looks like. Not the way it should, the way it looks like. If only she will change. If only she will do that. If we would be okay. Marriage counselors will tell you all the time, a great percentage of the people come in, and he's coming in for the sole purpose of getting the therapist to change her, and she's coming in to change him, and then we will be okay. No, we model it that it's up to me. And so we hold on to these little nuggets. My mom used to say, like squirrel holding on to little acorns. We hold on, we stuff them away, right? And that unforgiveness, and then that trigger in between. And I call it a case of the but yous. The but yous. But you didn't empty the garbage, but you didn't, and then all of a sudden, oh man, I'm pulling out all those nuts I've been hanging on to for so long, right? Onto it. And by modeling that, I mean, sometimes my wife would get upset and she would become historical, right?
Yeah. Historical. Here it comes.
Here it comes.
Oh, the memory bank.
But you didn't, right? What a wonderful. Yeah. And next thing we're arguing over, we don't even know what we're arguing about, and that holding on to those nuggets, okay, and releasing it. And so it's amazing how it changes all the relations. Now I'm just talking about the wife. You can apply that to your kids, to your coworkers. This very much applicable all over.
What does it look like to keep short accounts? That's really what it is.
Yeah.
But I think there's and I wish I could capture this for myself. What does every person's demeanor look like in a home where you don't have to do that? Like, what does it look? When we used to say this all the time to our guys, it's like, if you go to your teenage son, is that how you doing? And he says, fine. You need to follow that kid to wherever he's going, because that's you don't have an authentic, open relationship if that's how you.
It's a mask.
So what does sitting around the dinner table look like where we keep short accounts? I mean, in my mind, I just see this free-flowing conversation. There's no resentment. Nobody's clutching their bags. There's no but yous going on. Boy, does that feel like freedom and joy.
I think it's a place where trust flourishes.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a place where there's little or no sarcasm, because sarcasm only works, we say this all the time, because somebody has to lose. We think it's an environment where everybody is freed from the but yous. I think it's also a place where there is an ultimate daily return to nailing whatever ails us, whatever slows us down, nailing it back to the cross and giving it to Jesus and trusting him with it, knowing that he can, he will, and we can't.
Right on.
Sanctification, renewing of the mind, right? And modeling that in our relationships, particularly at home, right? If it's rather than asking the other person to stop doing the but-yous, just stop doing them yourself.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
If you want to know what asking them to be transparent, be transparent. We think that the kids, it's got to be caught, not taught. And we think if we listen to my words and they're paying attention to it all and they're responding and acting and reacting the way that they've been shown, not the way the words have been told to them.
I sat with somebody the other day who was really a leader who was trying to talk to his team. And it's kind of one of these one-to-many type meetings. And the leader said, I'm going to my people, I'm asking them for input and feedback. And everybody in the conference room, 10, 20, 30, they're looking at me going, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And I said, the way to get to the truth is not just transparency. Like, these are just commercial messages we throw over the transom to one another. Very transactional. Transparency, transactional, right? I said, but what happens when we address a small group of people with vulnerability? And how does vulnerability change the organization so that over time when you ask these questions,
it's okay.
You get real answers.
It's okay to give a real answer.
It works at home too. Transparency to vulnerability. It works at work. All there's no place where we can't take this red thread and make a relationship and make an organization and make a team.
Look, you brought up before sarcasm. Sarcasm also, often me, when I see it, it is non-transparency. I'm going to use sarcasm to not be transparent. And the other is usually low self-worth. I'm being snarky back again because what you said is my low self-worth is so low that you're hurting me. And so I'm going to hurt back.
Yep.
We're close to time, and this has been kind of an amazing, very, very full look at forgiveness. What are if someone's sitting at home and this has nudged them, the Holy Spirit has said, hey, did you hear that? Many times we're sitting here, Holy Spirit has said that to me, but somebody has said that, somebody has heard that. What would you tell them, like, hear that, and the next step is this? What would you tell them to do?
First of all, I love that. And are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Have you been carrying that alone long enough? It had every right to. I get it. But do you want to be free? Do you want that? And it's just wonderful. And if so, then let's start with making that decision. Yes, it may take a little while of renewing the mind. But when making that decision, I really want you to remember there are 3 parts to this, though. Most people say, an apology is just, I'm sorry. If you ever on the receiving side of this, it's a game changer. If you're going to be on the sending side to your spouse or to somebody else, this is the way you should do it. But if we're forgiving other things, it's the same way. First of all, it's forgiving the person, the event. When I say the person, the event, when I'm talking about in a group, that person, but the event itself, it may be when I'm just talking to God, I want to forgive it. Very important part, absolutely. But most often we leave it right at that. Second part, forgive the pain that it caused. Not just what happened, but what was the pain? I'm going to forgive the pain.
The carnage.
And the third
And you're
part,
talking about within yourself.
that is correct.
Yeah, okay.
That's correct. Or it could have been to his, right? You hurt my daughter. I'm going to forgive you for the pain that you for my daughter as well. And then the long-term consequences, right? I ended up being not the best husband in the world because of my dad, right? Took me a long time. I was not a good husband for a long period of time. That's long-term consequences, and that's on me.
Yes, it is.
So Lord, I want to forgive my dad for all of it, every little bit. I forgive the pain that it caused, that I'd lived homeless, that my brother took his own life while on the phone call with me. Wow. I would forgive that pain. And I forgive the consequences that I went through a long time in life, hurting and holding on to that anger and resentment. I forgive it all.
Wow. Profound.
It is profound.
So when next time it's like, Scott, I am so sorry that I hit you with a bat. And I'm so sorry you got a broken arm as a result of right? That you have to carry a cast. And you know that golf tournament you've been wanting to do, you can't do? That's on me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for all of it. I'm sorry for what happened, the pain that it caused, and the consequences. If you want true freedom, to empty that backpack, get all three right.
I love it. This has been so rich. I want you, before we go, I want you to quickly recap for folks listening in where to find your forgiveness resources.
Beautiful. So 70x7.org, 70x7.org. If you're in a small group, you'll see a link there to pathtoforgiveness.com. We do have a 5-part forgiveness, Path to Forgiveness series, great for small groups with questions and such. Okay. But at 70x7.org, especially if you're dealing with self-worth, click on that. Self-forgiveness, forgiving others. Plenty of resources.
This has been great. Next episode, we're going to go deeper on forgiveness. We're going to deal with judgment, justice, and anger. We're going to do that right here at the Outpost. Thanks, everybody.